Thank you very much for being here.
Great to be here.
How do you feel about leadership generally staying the same in the top three positions?
Well, I support Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, and Jim Clyburn. I think they've done a phenomenal job, and they're the right group to lead us into the next 2 years and the battles that we're going to face with the Trump administration on behalf of the American people. But there will be opportunities for the next generation of Democrats to rise up into the leadership ranks in a blended capacity. And I think that's what many of us are hoping to see.
What do you mean exactly by that? And does that mean that you think you should be the caucus chair?
Well, I have nothing but respect for Barbara Lee, and this is really just a friendly contest of ideas. I do think that at this moment in time, I'm in a position to help the caucus maintain its message discipline, the operational unity, get things done on behalf of the American people. I was pleased to be involved in crafting our closing argument to the American people, where we indicated we're going to fight to lower health care costs, fight to increase pay, fight to clean up corruption in Washington, D.C. We've made those promises. Now we have to deliver on behalf of the American people. I hope to be able to participate in that regard.
Clyburn, Pelosi, and Hoyer are all in their 70s. Barbara Lee is older as well. Do you feel like in some leadership position, in the fourth position, that there needs to be somebody younger? Well, I mean, the Democratic Party has had a fight about that now for the past year and a half or so as we've been talking about the midterms.
Well, I've made clear that I'm not running against anyone. I'm running for the House leadership position.
That's a nice way, a diplomatic way of putting it, but you end up running against somebody when you run for
Well, that is correct. But, you know, I'm just going to articulate a positive, forward-looking vision.
Do you think that you need a younger perspective in leadership?
Well, I do think that in terms of what overall leadership should look like, we need a blended mix of experience, and I think we're going to have that with Pelosi at the top, Clyburn and Hoyer, but also, you know, next generation Democrats who've been on the battlefield helping the team be successful, but being given additional opportunities to help lead the caucus moving forward.
What is the next generation going to bring that the older generation does not have right now?
Well, I think, again, it's a combination of perspectives and diverse views and ideas. I represent a very diverse district myself and understand the importance of trying to bring the American people together, but also standing for the things that we care about as Democrats and fighting the administration when necessary.
Give me examples.
Well, to give you an example, one, you know, we resisted their effort to oppose the Affordable Care Act, and I was heavily involved in that effort, resisted the Republican tax scam. They were successful legislatively, but we were able to brand it appropriately as a bill that didn't serve working class Americans, served the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, which is why it's the most unpopular so-called tax cut in American history. Well, at the same time, I've worked with the administration and Republicans in the House and in the Senate in helping to push forward a meaningful criminal justice reform bill that will help end the era of mass incarceration in the United States of America.
Would you be pushing for things like single payer, more of the progressive agenda?
Well, I'm a pragmatic progressive. I think that we all want to move toward universality of health care coverage, but we have to start by strengthening the Affordable Care Act, by lowering the high cost of prescription drugs, and by making sure that we can protect people with pre-existing conditions. Those were our promises to the electorate. That's what helped us win the majority. We've got to fight for the people, specifically on the issues that we have discussed with the American people as part of our closing argument.
Donald Trump wants to fund his border wall. I would make the argument that the images down there that we're seeing in Tijuana are the images want to see in order to back him up in this fight for his border wall. Is there any deal that you can make with him for that? Is it a deal for DACA? Anything that you can do that would give him some funding for that wall?
Well, I think that's a discussion for all of us as a caucus to have as it relates to the right.
You're running for a leadership position.
Well, listen, I think
don't we deserve your opinion?
Well, certainly. But I think, listen, you know, there are serious decisions that are going to have to be made with respect to issues that involve a possible government shutdown. And I think that we have to have a consensus position if we're going to push back against what the Trump administration may be trying to do. Now, my personal view with respect to the wall is that Donald Trump promised the American people that Mexico would pay for it. So either go talk to Mexico or go take a hike as it relates to billions of dollars being spent from the American taxpayer as it relates to a wall. However, I know some of my colleagues, even within the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, have raised the issue of some possible exchange of border security, which could involve some modest funding for a wall-type structure, if there's comprehensive immigration reform that relates to making sure that we can provide a real pathway towards citizenship. So that's a discussion we can have.
Is that something you could get behind?
Well, I'm not prepared to say one way or the other because I don't want to necessarily negotiate in public, and I don't want to negotiate without making sure that I fully understand where the entirety of the House Democratic Caucus is at this moment.
Will there be a government shutdown?
I don't think there will be a government shutdown. If there is one, it would fall on the Republicans. They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Guys, get your act together.
How long should Nancy Pelosi stay as Speaker, if she gets Speaker?
Well, I anticipate that she will be the next Speaker, and I don't think that's for any of us to say. And I think she's correct when she said she looks forward to being a bridge to the next generation, but she's not going to lame duck herself and sort of hurt her ability to negotiate while she has the gavel.
When she says she's the bridge, do you hope you're the other person on the other side of that bridge?
No, listen, I'm in the midst of a tough fight right now as it relates to chair of the House Democratic Caucus. I'm not looking beyond this position. Hopefully, I'll earn the confidence of my colleagues and be able to secure it.
It is a stepping stone, though, to the Speaker position.
Well, it's a meaningful role in and of itself. I mean, you know, whatever happens down the road happens down the road. There's a generation of new members. Ben Ray Lujan is an example, and many others. Well, I mean, I think it's too premature to say, do I want this or do I want that? I want to be the chair of the House Democratic Caucus. I'm fighting for that. Hopefully, I'll have the opportunity to be successful in that regard and to be part of the leadership team that delivers for the American people.
What about those who say that there's infighting in the Congressional Black Caucus? You're running up against somebody who's been doing it a long time, somebody who has leadership chops of her own.
Well, I think we both, again, I have nothing but the highest degree of respect for Barbara Lee, and she'll have significant support within the Congressional Black Caucus. I'll have significant support within the Congressional Black Caucus. It's a family discussion. Some members of the family will be on one side, some will be on the other. We will come together when it's all said and done.